Nope.
I feel like I need to address some of the propaganda we're seeing on TV from the Israeli military, specifically the supposed evidence that they obtained from the El Shifa hospital. I spent 22 years in the Marine Corps. I was an officer in the infantry. I became a operations officer in a special forces unit. I was a Middle East foreign area officer for some time, and I wrapped up my career as a JAG lawyer. And throughout that time, I served on many staffs, including the staff of General Mattis when he was the brigade commander. I know what a command and control center looks like. I've been in command and control centers. I've operated in a command and control center, and that is not a command and control center. It's not even a command and control node. So let's take it apart piece by piece. First of all, command and control centers don't necessarily have weapons. They might have personal weapons, pistols, rifles, but they don't stash weapons in a command and control center because it's not made to fight. It's made to command and control. What you do have in command and control centers are radios, computers, maps, boards, tables to move troops around. That's for an ordinary army. When you're working in an asymmetrical warfare environment like Hamas is working in, you would expect to have very limited control over the battle space because you have small units operating independently. But let's take the evidence that Israel is claiming is evidence of command and control, and that's the computer. I'm going to begin with the computer first. If Israel found a computer that belongs to Hamas, one of the first things I would expect them to do is to exploit it, meaning let's get it to our intelligence people so that they can find out exactly what's on it, because intelligence is perishable. The information that's useful might not be useful in a few hours. And so rather than put it on TV and then record it over and over again to try and justify to the world why Israel is committing a war crime, the first thing I would expect Israeli intelligence, there's nothing intelligent about it, to do is to get it to their intelligence people so they can exploit the information that's on it. Instead, they put it on and then they recorded it over and over again. And then when we really take a close look at it, we realize that it's actually an Israeli computer. It's got the wrong plug. It has a program that's open that's clearly for the Israeli army, and it's not a Hamas computer. So that's one. Two, the supposed weapons found next to an MRI machine. First, they put out a video that there was one AK-47 which has a magazine in it, and then they had two AK-47s without magazines. And it makes you wonder, if you're just recording as you go, why would you need to change what things look like? You can set all of that aside. It's so easy to find weapons on the battlefield after you've been in combat. People die, people may have abandoned things, and then you can stage them however you want. But even if Israel had found a computer belonging to Hamas and found some grenades and found some rifles in the hospital, it does not make it a legitimate target. It is specifically prohibited under the Geneva Convention to attack hospitals. The level of evidence required to justify an attack on a hospital is so high, that you have to be able to establish that it is no longer a hospital and it's used as a military operations center. It's not sufficient that it's a hospital and it's sometimes used by the military. You must establish that it is no longer functioning as a hospital. And there's nothing of the sorts. They attacked the hospital. They committed a war crime. And then to put the icing on the cake with the cherry on top, they planted a flag. And you have to stop and wonder about the mental state of an army that takes pride in attacking and then conquering a hospital. Wow. Talk about propaganda for consumption of the people that already support you. Free Palestine.
I just watched something that answers every question about why America, the UK, and France are so staunchly in support of Israel and what it's doing right now. And of course, it has to do with money, obviously. But not what we would have thought of. I think we all would have assumed it was oil. Turns out it's not. Turns out this is what it's all about. This is the Suez Canal. This is owned by Egypt. The Suez Canal makes about $9 billion a year. And where does that $9 billion go to? It goes to Egypt. Egypt nationalized the canal, so it makes all the profit. So who's not collecting on this are the Americans, the British, and the French, and the Israelis. They want to change that. Enter the Ben Gurion Canal Project over here. This is what's happening right now in the Middle East. What we're seeing on TV is all a ploy. It's all about granting access for this canal. The American and Israeli government plan on nuking this land over here to build a canal. They're going to use this land because that land is built out of a rocky terrain, whereas the Suez Canal is built on more of a sandy terrain. By digging through a rockier ground, they would have more likelihood to have a wider canal, allowing two ships to pass each other at the same time, as opposed to one ship, which is presently happening in the Suez Canal. And where do you think that canal empties? Not just in the Mediterranean Sea. The Ben Gurion Canal would empty right in northern Gaza. The Ben Gurion Canal would empty into the Mediterranean at the northern point of Gaza. Northern Gaza. So all we're seeing here, ethnic cleansing, genocide, forcing all of the Palestinians into the south of Gaza. It's all to build this canal.
Just imagine AIPAC, the Jewish lobby in America. They can find $100 million to try and unseat Black members of Congress and anyone who does not toe the line about what they want for the Israeli government and taxpayers' money. I want to know, when did America become the breast that they suck the milk out of our taxpayers' money? When exactly did these PACs put so much fear into Americans that if you disagree with apartheid in Israel, with settlers stealing people's houses, that they have the power to unseat Congress people? I wonder if they realize that all that money that AIPAC, all the money that they're getting, that they could send that money to Israel and leave the American taxpayer money alone. I wonder why those people in Congress don't tell them all of these PACs, all of these organizations, you know what? You guys have a lot of money. We have no problem with you sending it directly to the Israeli government. This bullshit with these PACs have to stop. No one should have this kind of influence on the American government. It almost feels like America is not America. When did we become second-class citizens to another country? And we need to stop sending our money everywhere. We just need to stop sending our money until everybody in America has health care, has a decent living. We need to stop sending them our money. And we need to elect people who will vote no, not to send our money to these places.
Your favorite guy, what are you showing me? This looks like nothing. It doesn't make sense. This is AIPAC, and it's something we need to talk about. AIPAC stands for American Israel Public Affairs Committee, and they're one of the biggest lobbyist groups in America. Translation, they give the most money to our politicians to make them do what they want them to do. They used to be called the American Zionist Committee for Public Affairs, but they changed their name. And they've been paying the people in our government tens of millions of dollars to get their Zionist agenda passed here in our country. Here's an example for you. A politician in our country said that Israel needs to end its occupation. So what did AIPAC do? They swooped in and gave millions of dollars to get somebody else elected in place of that politician. So there's no opposition against Israel's genocide to the Palestinians in our government. Here's a list of politicians who has received the most money from AIPAC, including Joe Biden, Hillary Clinton, Mitch McConnell. Almost everybody in our Congress gets money from AIPAC. You want to know why our politicians turn a blind eye to the oppression of the Palestinians? It's because their pockets are lined with Israel's money. And you want to know what wins re-election? Not your vote, more money.
Nope.